All right, let's keep the Utah Mammoth conversation rolling with our Utah Mammoth insider, Cole Bagley from KSLSports.com. Cole, development camp just came to a close. You were there for the whole duration of the camp. What exactly do the Utah Mammoth gain from development camp and having all the youth there?
Yeah, it really just kind of gives them, first of all, it gives them an opportunity to bring all their prospects in and kind of see what they got, right? See what's coming up in the pipeline, see where the progress has been made for these players, but also to establish their culture, to bring these guys in together and to begin establishing relationships. You know, these are hopefully players that are going to be on the Mammoth for a really long time and sharing lines and sharing, roster spots. So, that's really the focus. It's not necessarily a full-on analysis of where these guys are at. It's more of just, hey, it's been a while. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Meet your teammates and, let's play a little bit of hockey.
Yeah, kind of a reintroduction, right? It's still going to be a couple years before we see some of these guys on the ice, though. The guys we will be seeing on the ice right away, how about the addition of J.J. Peterka? The trade there might have surprised some people. You get rid of a couple of fan favorites after just 1 year of Utah hockey in Josh Stone and Michael Kesselring, but you bring in a guy like Peterka. How would you rate this trade, and how does Peterka fit in with the Mammoth?
I would give it an A or an A+, to be honest with you. And I know that it's tough. A lot of fans have been very sad to see the departure of Kesselring and Stone, and I understand that. Those are two not necessarily big personalities, but, fun locker room guys who started to show a lot of promise. But if you want to be great in the NHL, you got to give up good players to get great players, and that's what this was. It was sacrificing maybe some young developing talent and a solid defenseman in Kesselring for an up-and-coming goal scorer, a guy who had 68 points last season, and that's what the Mammoth needed. They needed to take a big swing, and that's what they were talking about going into the offseason. I think it just maybe surprised people because they were maybe anticipating a Marner or a Bennett or a Marchand or something like that. But I like this because it sticks to the timeline. Peterka is 23 years old, so now he can grow up with the Coolies and the Gunthers and the rest of those prospects that we were just talking about. And that's what the Mammoth are so focused on, is they didn't want to go sign the 28, 29-year-old that maybe messes up the rebuild, right? You're betting a lot on a player like that, whereas Peterka, he's a really good player. He had 70 points, and he's just going to continue getting better.
Okay, so how about in free agency? It wasn't just a trade, but they went out and added a few pieces there in free agency as well. Not the big name guys, but some key pieces.
Yeah, free agency for the Mammoth this offseason was all about adding depth and physicality. That's exactly what you're going to get in a guy like Brandon Tanev. If you haven't seen his headshots from every year, go and look him up. And this guy is just, he's an animal. He's kind of a rat.
The wide eyes.
Yeah, the wide eyes. He's a rat on the ice, and that is what Utah needed. They needed some grit. They needed a guy who's going to come in and deliver punishing hits and drop the gloves and also, chip in and help out on the scoring sheet every so often. So I like that signing. Schmidt is also a really good addition. A guy that just won a Stanley Cup in Florida. A lot of people might be looking at, well, why do they have so many defensemen? Well, look at what happened last season. They lost Marino, they lost Dursey, there were injuries to Maverick Lambrou and other guys. They had to make emergency trades, and they tried, picking guys up off waivers, and it took a few until they, finally found someone that helped them out. So they wanted to add depth. They did it in net as well. With a lot of question around whether or not Ingram's going to be ready to go. They needed another goaltender to potentially be there in case Ingram's not, because Vejmelka's going to be your guy, but you needed some depth there to maybe pick up the slack in case Ingram's not ready. Okay,
they also have to take care of their own as they build ahead in this franchise, and I think a lot of Utah Mammoth fans want to know what the deal is with the future of Logan Cooley, a guy that they certainly want to extend his contract to keep him around for a long time, him and Jack McBain as well.
Right. I would say that Logan Cooley is the most important player for the Utah Mammoth right now. 65 points this last season. He's barely 21 years old, 25 goals, 40 assists, and he appears to be a budding superstar, and the Mammoth very much believe that. Now, what I've been told is that negotiations have started, but you don't need to necessarily rush these. There's not a deadline right now because Cooley still has one more year on his entry-level contract, which means you can take some time to get this deal done. Now, I do know that they want to try to get it done by the beginning of the season.
Right.
So maybe a similar timeline to Dylan Gunther, who I think signed
keep the distraction out of the season.
Exactly. Who signed during training camp. But I would anticipate, we're going to see a contract for Logan Cooley that maybe is, a 7x8 or a 7x8.5, close to 9.
Yeah.
Because he's just that good.
Yeah. Worth it.
Yeah. And in terms of Jack McBain, both sides are working very heavily right now. He is a restricted free agent, so it works a little bit differently. I know he didn't file for arbitration, which is generally a good thing. That usually means that the two sides are coming close to, coming to an agreement and getting a contract put in place. Or maybe he's looking for an offer sheet. I don't think that's the case here, though. I think Jack wants to stay in Utah. They're just trying to make sure that they can work out all the kinks.
Well, hopefully those are two deals that do get done sooner than later. I know Mammoth fans would love to see that happen. Cole, thanks for joining us these past several weeks to talk Utah Mammoth. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a fun summer, and can't wait to watch hockey at Delta Center in a couple months.